What's up? I'm Mike, N2MAK, and I built a folded skeleton sleeve dipole for 2 meters and 6 meters. Best of all, I built it for about $8. Let me show you how, and let's see how it does. All right, so what is a folded skeleton sleeve dipole? Well, it's a dual band antenna. One of the things that is drawn people to this is it's a dual band antenna, and it can be beneficial for small spaces. So whether it's an attic or an apartment, if you got certain restrictions, a small yard. But let me go over and talk about kind of how this is constructed, and then what some of the advantages are to it. So making the antenna is really simple. This is a super simple build, even for somebody like me. My soldering skills are not great at all, but it's really easy. This is made with 450 ohm ladder line, and I purchased some at a Hamfest like 2 years ago. I figured maybe I'd do a doublet or something else, and I never got around to it. I heard about this antenna, and it's kind of been in the back of my mind. And when I saw that Ziggy was doing the cheap antenna competition contest in the Toads Discord, and I'll leave a link down below. If you're not a member of Toads, definitely join. And if you're not a subscriber to Ziggy's channel, definitely subscribe to his channel. I make sure I leave a link to his too. But anyway, I thought, well, this is a perfect antenna to make, on a budget, because ladder line you can get for roughly $1 or so a foot. I chose to build this for 2 meters and 6 meters because there's a lot of VHF activity in Western New York, and we even have regular 2 meter and 6 meter SSB nets where I live. So I figured this would be a nice antenna to use for both 6 meter and 2 meter single sideband. I do the VHF contests a lot, and it's always nice to have something that I could use for sideband or FT8 on 2 and 6 meters. So that's why I chose to go with this. You can go with, and I'll leave links to additional information though. You can do this for any combination of different elements. So whatever bands you want to do. You want to do 40 and 20? You can make it for 40 and 20 meters. Obviously you're going to need more wire for that, but this was only about 7.5 or so feet wide, so not very long at all. And making it, simply just measure out the wire, and what you're going to do is simply solder both ends of the antenna together, and then on the top of the antenna you're going to have to cut 2 notches, and that will be for the second element, which is going to be shorter. So the longer element is going to be on the bottom. That's the driven element. So in this case, the 6 meter element is the folded dipole that's on the bottom. The top element is going to be a parasitic element. It's not electrically connected to the 6 meter antenna, but it will still work and function as a 2 meter dipole. And then the most complicated step of the assembly is simply connecting coax or a feed point. I had some cheap coax that I bought on Amazon, some just RG8X with SO239 or PL259s, I'm sorry, PL259 connectors. I bought some of this, and I've just kind of cut it in half so that I could easily use it for making some J-pole antennas like this. Well, this isn't a J-pole, but you know what I mean. Just bump the camera. Hopefully I'm still in frame. Now, try to make it look nice, I just threw some electrical tape on the ends after I soldered them, and some electrical tape over the shield and the center of the coax that I soldered in to create the feed point. I did make a choke, and I actually started out, I made the choke first. I figured it'd be easier to wind it before the antenna was connected, and did a little bit of research, and I'd seen that, around 7-ish or so turns of RG58 around, something that was maybe 2.5 inches or so in diameter would work well. I looked around the workbench real quick, and there's an empty container from some maple cream that I used, and the size was actually perfect. The diameter, but also the width, I was able to get like 7 or 8 turns. That's going to function as a choke for 6 meters, and hopefully that's doing the trick on 2 meters. Again, it's a dipole, so it's beneficial to have a choke. Maybe it's not as necessary at QRP levels, but it's still good practice to be choking. So now let's talk about some of the benefits for this. First of all, this is a dual band antenna, which is great. But it doesn't stop there. So this is a dual band antenna, and the elements do not need to be harmonically related. So you think about multi-band antennas outside of, like a random wire antenna, you see off-center fed dipoles, and you see end-fed half waves, and if they're multi-banded, it's because they're harmonically related. And so you're getting, on an end-fed half wave for 40 meters, you're getting 20, 15, and 10 because of the harmonics. And that's not the case with this. If you wanted to build something small and you didn't have a lot of space, you could do it for 10 and 12 meters. And that's perfectly fine. Or 10 and 15, whatever you want to do. There's a whole possible, there's a whole list of possibilities and combinations and lengths depending on what you choose. So it's nice that they don't need to be harmonically related, and you don't need a tuner. It's a resonant antenna on both bands. So now you got a dual band antenna. You don't need a tuner. You can pick the elements that you want to do it for. If you're constrained for space, you can save a little bit of space doing this as compared to a standard dipole. And because of it's a folded dipole and a regular dipole, the radiation pattern is going to be more consistent with that of a dipole. Probably isn't going to be spot on, but it's going to be pretty close. And that's extremely beneficial in this case, because it's going to be a little bit more omnidirectional, and you're not going to have the lobes and the nulls. When you operate an end-fed half wave, a 40-meter one, for example, 20 meters, and then you get down to 15, 10, you're going to get lobes and harmonics. It's going to change the radiation pattern. This can be advantageous too, because you don't need the tuner. You're getting 2 bands. They don't need to be harmonically related. And you're getting a very consistent radiation pattern, which is something that we might not think about that often. The biggest benefit for some is, outside of the simplicity, is going to be the cost. $8 is pretty much what it cost me to make this, and that's just the purchase of the ladder line. If you want to add a couple bucks to put on a coax connector or something, I think you get the point. It's a really cheap and simple multi-banded antenna, and this would be fantastic for a new ham. Think about a technician. You can put together a dipole for or one of these dipoles for 6 meters and 10 meters. Where you have privileges, and then you got something that you can run weak signal or FT8 on, and it's not going to take up very much space. So that's just something to think about. But you could also put together a much larger one, and you could do 20 and 40 meters, 2 of the most popular bands, and bring it out portable for POTA and do that. So anyway, that's a little bit of an overview of both the build, but also the benefits for this antenna. All right, well, here's a quick look at the setup. So you got the antenna up on a makeshift mast. I'm using some PVC. It's just 3/4 PVC. A friend of mine had a bunch that was discarded at work, and we've used it for a mast. You might even see some of the tape or the cord that's on there. I've used this a number of times for building dipoles for 2 and 6 meters and some other antennas, and so some of the things are already kind of measured out. This is an Amazon Basics speaker stand, and it works great because the 3/4 PVC fits perfectly in there. There's a couple of bolts just to keep it from rotating in the wind. You can see the choke there. And then there's a barrel connector, and I got 15 feet of RG8X that's running into the car. There I am. Car needs to get washed. The winter's horrible on it, especially with the salt. And then there's the ICOM 705. Let's get set up and let's see what this thing can do here. All right, here's a quick look at the SWR. I'm just using the SWR graph in the ICOM 705 on 6 meters. And like I said, this is cut for the lower end of the band, so you can see we're definitely under 1.5. Got plenty of bandwidth to use this for what I would do, which would be in VHF contests, doing a single side band, and the lower portion of the band or FT8. Let's check 2 meters. Now on 2 meters, remember, I'm cutting this for the lower portion of the band for weak signal like FT8, so it's definitely at its lowest there. So this is looking pretty good. Maybe it's a tad bit long, but this should be good for where I want to actually use the antenna, which is going to be down around 144. All right, so we are spotted, and there we are transmitting. You can see no ALC. The SWR is below 1.5, getting just about all 10 watts out, but I'm not hearing anything. You can kind of see the waterfall there, or lack thereof. It's pretty lonely on 6 meters now, so I don't know if FT8 is going to work. Maybe I'll just have to do some whisper. All right, we're giving a 2 meter FT8 a shot. You can see we're getting all the powers out. SWR is below 1.5, no ALC. If we thought 6 was dead, I'm pretty sure 2 meters is going to be a bust. There's no contest or anything, but you don't know unless you try, so let's see what happens. I can see that I'm getting out there. So this is on a PSK reporter. I just checked real quick. I'm calling out on 2 meter FT8 now, but this is for 6 meters. And at least got picked up, outside of Syracuse and stuff around the lake. Those are obviously local. Clearly there's no opening on 6 as we saw from the waterfall, but at least I know it's working. The antenna right now, by the way, is aiming kind of east-westish. East-westish, yeah. East and west. So there you go. We'll see if we get lucky on 2, though, and I'll take a look and see if we're getting picked up at all on PSK Reporter on 2 meters shortly. It's happening. It's happening. I just got a text from one of my buddies, Jeff, KD2YAO. You've seen him in some videos with me. Oh, wow, that is loud. It's strong. That's because it's local. You've seen Jeff in videos with me. We've gone to Skino Island to activate. He's the ham who's got a boat. But he just sent me a text saying that he heard me on 6 and he's on 2 now. And so it looks like we might actually get a 2 meter FT8 contact in the log, and I'll switch to 6 and see if he can work me there. So we're not going to come up empty-handed, but for those of you who have not experienced the joy of 2 meter FT8, this is what it's like. It's pretty lonely. Look at how many calls. Oh, but there it is, finally in the book. Thanks so much, Jeff. I appreciate it. Now let's switch to 6 meters and see if we can work them there. Yep, there he is, KD2YIO. Let's see if we can complete this contact and at least get these 2 FT8s in the log. So like I said, we're not coming up completely empty-handed. Such excitement, 6 meter and 2 meter FT8. The bands aren't open and there's no contest. There we go. Awesome. I know it's working. Maybe I'll see if I can get him on voice real quick too. Just a quick look. This is on 2 meters for PSK Reporter, and look at that down in Connecticut, getting picked up down there. At least we know it's getting out. The antenna is still going east and west and whatnot. And then some local contacts. One of those has got to be Jeff, KD2YAO. So at least we see it's getting out there. Let me check. Let's see here and see what 6 meters looks like. Yeah, there's a couple I was getting out towards Buffalo that made sense. I know there was those ones there. This is for 30 minutes. Let's put it back to an hour. Yeah. Not a lot, but hey, it's working. 10 watts and a wire. All right, we're not going to give up just yet. I rotated the antenna, so the broadside's going to be more north-south now. So let's just see if this makes a difference and to make some calls real quick on 6 and 2 meters. All right, so we are calling out on 6 meter FT8. I'm not going to be able to see it so well, but I got the antenna rotated. We're going north-south. I tried 2 meters, didn't have any luck there. Not sure we're going to have much luck here, but just looking down real quick at PSK Reporter, you can see some new spots popping up. So there's one much more to the south and one up by Kingston, Ontario to the north. So it's certainly getting out there. 6 meters though, I've said it multiple times. It's not opening today. All right, that'll do it. Not the test that I was hoping, but it is what it is. A lot of this just came down to the band conditions today. I wasn't getting any tropo on 2 meters, wasn't getting any magic on 6 meters. Did make a few local contacts. Thank you so much, Jeff, KD2YIO. He picked me up on Ham Alert and was able to work me on 2 meters and 6 meters, both SSB and also FT8. I know the antenna works. I was seeing some spots on PSK Reporter, so it was certainly getting out there. Certainly worked earlier in the week when I built it just before the Monday night single sideband net on 2 meters. And so, it is what it is. This was the only time that worked for me this week to get out and test the antenna, where I had the weather cooperating. It's freezing out, but at least it's sunny, so it stayed warm in the car. It sometimes, you just you just got to roll with it. But maybe, in January, maybe when I go out for the VHF contest, I'll bring it out then when there's a lot of activity on 2 and 6 meters, and I can really get a good idea then how it works. But for now, I'm satisfied. The antenna works well. It does what it needs to do. It fits my needs, which is for weak signal on 2 and 6 meter. But there's lots of other possibilities that you can do with this type of antenna. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you made it this far, by all means, please click like and subscribe to my channel. But I really want to hear from you in the comments down below when it comes to this antenna. First of all, have you ever heard of a folded skeleton sleeve antenna? Let me know down below, but also let me know what combination of bands would you like to do if you were going to make this antenna for yourself, because you're not limited to 2 and 6 meters. You can do just about any combination of bands. So let me know in the comments down below. Have you heard of this? And if you were going to make it, what bands would you make it for? Thanks so much for watching. I'm Mike, N2MAK73. Oh, and this isn't a failed activation for POTA, by the way. I was out doing a late shift last night, so I got more than enough contacts to still get credit for activating the park. But honestly, I could care less. I built an antenna, it works, and I had fun, and I learned. And thank you very much, Ziggy. Thank you to everyone over in the Toads Discord, for this cheap antenna challenge. And if you haven't yet, definitely subscribe to Ziggy's channel. Check out the Toads Discord if you haven't already. Goodbye for now, for real. I'm Mike, N2MAK73.
Okay, well, it's working. As Len would say, contest quality.